Thank you for joining this seminar. Today's Exploratory Online Seminar number 65. The topic is about working with FRED. FRED is FRB economic data, especially for like time series data. So before getting, let me introduce myself. My name is Kan Nishida, CEO at Exploratory. We started Exploratory back in the 2016 spring to democratize data science. Since then, we've been building this tool called Exploratory to make it easier or more accessible for doing a data science. And along with that, we also provide this type of seminars and training to share our skills and knowledge so that more people can use data science. Our vision is the world where everybody can make data-informed decisions. To do what we can do is democratize data science. That's why we build the tools. That's why we provide a training, education type of things. And then when we say the data science, basically you always start with questions, you want to answer with the data. So you want to access the data, you want to do the data wrangling, where essentially you clean the data, transform the data. Then you can visualize or using analytics algorithms to find patterns and trend in the data. And then you can, hopefully, if the data is useful, then you can answer the questions. But most of the time, you're not the only one who is working. You usually work with partners and customers and coworkers and then boss and then whatever. So you need to communicate whatever the insights you find from the data. So that communication piece is also the important part of the data science workflow. Exploratory provides a modern and simple UI experience to do these 5 things. Okay. So that's about the introduction. So let's get into the main course of the seminar. So Exploratory Online Seminar number 65, working with FRED, FRB economic data, especially around the time series data. Okay, so to do, this agenda is kind of like a brief agenda in a way, tons of text here, but I really like to do with 3 things. Number 1 is introducing what the FRED system is. And then number 2, how you can set up the initial setup so that you can use FRED data in Exploratory. And then number 3 is really using Exploratory to download the data, transform the data, visualize it, sort of things. And then within that, there are different topics in terms of data wrangling or visualization, but really these 3 things. Okay, so let me introduce myself. Let me introduce FRED itself. So FRED is Federal Reserve Bank economic data. So America's central bank hosting this website where they basically sort of like collects and expose more than 800 time series data. This is not just only the US data, but including even outside US, such as Europe, Japan, and all over the world. So it's pretty useful actually, and many people in the financial world, economic world, they use it. So I'm sure you have seen some chart images that comes out from this website, and it's free. So you can go there anytime, and you just punch in the thing you want to know, and then you can get a nicely formatted chart, and you can even download the data, and it's all free. So I believe it's free. I've never had any paywall or anything like that. So, and then economic data, including it's inflation, especially now. You hear the inflation every day. So this is a website you want to go and check what's the inflation like. There's a bunch of way of measure the inflation, and most of the stuff is actually available on this website. And GDP, unemployment, or gas price, you name it. There's tons of data here. And when you punch in, let's say the gas price or something, you get sort of a listing, data set list page or a search page. Then basically, like a couple of things you want to check here is that when that each link is or each title means what this data is or what this metric is. And then you want to check like when was the last time this data was updated. Some of the metric was updated, let's say like 5 years ago, and since then it never been updated. Some of the metric was updated just last week or this week or something. So you want to check the data is actually kind of up to date as long as you care about sort of like a real time or like a near real time. And then another thing you want to check, use is this is more like the tool. So this is where you can fine tune your search. So I often use this one to, let's say like if I'm interested in particular stuff, like let's say like a gas price, then like I can check, click on the gas under the concepts, or I can use the geography type. So I'm going to do the quick demo today, and then you're going to see more detail. And then when you click on each title or economic metric, then you get this page. And this is a chart many people actually copy and paste. So you might have seen it. But you see like a nice, time series line chart. And then couple of things again you want to check is at the bottom you see the source. So just because FRB is hosting this type of this set of the data doesn't mean FRB is the one creating this data. So many other government organization institutions creating the data or collecting the data, and this website is the kind of central repository where you can find those type of data. Okay, so this particular one is like U.S. gas price, and then the source is U.S. Energy Information Administration, and then that data is actually hosted on this website, FRED. And then also at the top area, you can see, what the time range, what is the frequency? It's like weekly updated data or monthly updated data. What's the beginning? What's the end of this time range? Types of things. And then when you scroll down, like there's a notes section, and then this is where it talks about what this data really is or what the unit means, kind of stuff. Sometimes the information here is not enough, and so I often have to click on the release or source, then try to gather more information to understand this metric. And then right-hand side top, the two buttons, one of them is the edit graph. So this line chart is the default, but you can actually switch to different chart type, or you can change some of the format. You can even add line, meaning like you can bring another metric so that you can show like two lines, maybe the gas price and electricity price and, something like that. So there are some sort of way of like editing the charts or customizing that charts as well. And then under the when you click on the download button, then you can download the data as an Excel format or CSV format or image. So these are the things you can do on the website. So as long as doing something like this, you don't need Exploratory. Okay, so I think the first thing is that it's not really, this seminar is not really about Exploratory. I think I'd like to share with you that there are tons of data here. It's very useful, especially this kind of time, like, where the economy is heading. There are a lot of sort of, talks about economy. Instead of going to the media and try to, understand the economy from what media is broadcasting, instead, you can go here to access the source data, and so it's free, right? So I think that's the really cool website. But you can access to FRED if you like to, if you want to do more than what you can do on the website. So there is a way to directly download the data. Instead of download the CSV data and import the CSV in Exploratory, instead, you can directly import the data from FRED. So why you want to import the data and work with the data in Exploratory? There are a few things. Mainly sort of like you can combine, with other data, not just the data on the FRED. Maybe like you can bring in like some other data that you might have, or you can get from somewhere else, like let's say like stock data or currency data, the types of things that are not available on this website. And then like you can transform the data flexibly the way you like, and you can visualize the data very flexibly in the way you like. And then use your analytics, or you can create a dashboard and notes to summarize what you are finding. And then last not least is you can automate all of this so that you don't have to do it. Like you can automate every week or every month and so on. So Exploratory can do like 5 things, right? So data access, data wrangling, visualization, analytics, and reporting. Reporting means the dashboard and note. So once you can directly download, that means you can do these 5 things. And then I'm going to skip these things. I'm going to quickly do the demo in the later. And then like also analytics, 2 things, there are many other things, but 2 things you might be interested in, especially this kind of time series data. So when you combine tons of time series data, like you get kind of confused, but you might want to find a correlation or similarity between the metrics sometimes. So let's say like, hey, when the gas price is going up and the electricity price is going up, but maybe corn price might not necessarily be going up, right? So when you combine, but you might want to find some kind of similarity, then you can use a clustering, time series clustering to categorize into different groups. Or you might want to forecast. And in this forecasting stuff, there are 2 methods. One is a Prophet, the other one is ARIMA. But it's not necessarily just the forecasting for like future, but also, hey, maybe like based on the trend of like the last 5 years, this year should have been going this way. Let's say increasing for like 10%, but somehow not increasing or increasing 20%. You might be interested in that gap, right? Based on the forecasted value and the current or actual values. So that's also another way of using this type of algorithms. But anyway, so you can use this type of analytics. I'm not going to go into the analytics today. So if you're interested in, go to our website under Learn How To, and then you can see some of the analytics related information there as well. Okay. And then like, once you create the chart or dashboard or so on, then you can publish to the Exploratory server. Then you can do, you can share, you can view there, and you can schedule, you can discover, reproduce, and all sorts of things. Okay. So you can publish, share, and then when you share with other folks, and the other folks will receive the email invitation, and then they can create a free account at the Exploratory, and then they can view in a secure way. Okay. And then another thing is that schedule to automate. So, so you might get the data, import the data from Fred, maybe like 5 or 6 metrics and combine together. You might, download the data from somewhere else and combine them together. And then you do, all sorts of data wrangling steps and creating the charts and then combine them in a dashboard or something. In that case, you don't want to do that every single time and manually, so you can automate it at the Exploratory server. And then when you subscribe, or the other people like you share with, and they can also subscribe that dashboard, or you can just publish a chart itself as well. Then what's going to happen is then every time this dashboard or chart or data gets updated, they will, or you will, receive the email notification with a snapshot, thumbnail image. So you don't necessarily have to open to go to the Exploratory website. Instead, you have that in your inbox. And how that schedule works is that like I'm gonna show you right after this, but you need to connect you need to create a connection first to connect to the Fred website, and then once you create it, that's going to be your connection. So when you publish a chart or dashboard to Exploratory server, the connection also will be published along with it. Therefore, when you schedule it, then Exploratory server will kick off, like let's say like you publish a chart or something, then kick off the chart that might have like, data wrangling steps and all that stuff. It will do that automatically, but it also needs to get the latest data from Fred. At that time, it will use your connection then download the data, and then do all sorts of things to necessary to generate that chart. Okay. So what is a connection really? So that's the thing that you need to do at the initial setup. You need to do it once, and once you've done it, then you don't have to do that later. So in order to access to Fred in Exploratory, you want to click on the plus icon and data next to the data frames. And then there is, it says Cloud Apps Data. It's a Cloud Apps. I don't think if, Fred call themselves Cloud App, but we call it Cloud Apps because it's on the cloud. It's on somewhere. So when you select the Cloud Apps Data, and then one of the menu is Fred Economic Data. And when you click on it for the first time, you're going to see this dialog asking you to type the connection name and also type the API key. So where you can find the API key. So when you go to the Fred website, you can create your account. Okay, and then if you haven't done so, and then that's free as well. And then you create account, and then once you create account, you're going to see your My Account button right-hand side top. And underneath, there's a menu called API Keys. When you click on it, then you are going to be in the API Keys page, and you just copy and paste, and then copy the API key and paste it in the Exploratory, and click the Update button. And that's it. And then once it's done, then from the next time when you click on a Fred data icon, then you're good to go. Okay, so that's the initial setup. And from here on, I'm going to do a demo of how you can get the data and what you can do in Exploratory, or typical things you would do. Something to know, right? And then to do, I like to answer these three questions. Okay, so right now, as long as you live in the US, and I'm sure somewhere else, like Europe and Japan or other part of the world as well, the gas price is going up like crazy. So I'd like to know how the gas price is changing. Not just this month, but also I want to see in a kind of historical sense, like, is it really going up? And how about compared to like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, how crazy this gas price is? Because I feel so crazy right now, but is that like, compared to the past, is really kind of something special thing going on? The second thing is I heard the gas prices are different among the states. So I like to see, I live in a small town called Sarasota in Florida. But I used to live in San Francisco only like until 6 months ago. And so I want to compare among the cities and then if you find out like any difference. And if there are any differences, then what are the differences? How they're different among the US cities? Okay, so these are the things I like to do from now. Okay, so first, let's go back to Exploratory. And the first thing is I need to know which data, right? So like, let's go to Fred website first. Okay, and there you go. Okay, so this is a website, fred.st St. Louis, so SDLOUIS, and FED, Fed, federal government, fed.org. Okay, so this is a website. And then here, if this is the first time, like you might want to just click on this one of these buttons and then see like what type of the data you can access to. This time, I like to see like a gas price. So I'm going to just type in and hit the enter key and see what type of the data is going to come. So this is a search page. And then, so right-hand side here, so when the data was updated, for example, this one, the first one was like February 22. This one is 1 day ago. So it's pretty fresh, right? And then when I go scroll down, like there are tons of different type of gas price or price-related data. Okay, and here, I find it's two things. One is a US regular conventional gas price. I usually use this one when I'm interested in because I like this one here. It's updated weekly basis. So it's more near term. But the other one is average price gasoline, unleaded regular. So there are different types of gasoline, but this one is the one that I actually use, so unleaded regular. And then in US city average. So it looks like they collect the data from a bunch of different cities, and then this is the average, right? So this time, this one is a monthly updated data. But later on, I want to actually compare with other cities. So I'm going to go with this one for now. Okay. So when I click on it, so again, a couple of things to check. So this is the duration of the data. So 76 to 2022 March. And then updated monthly. And then April 12 was the last updated date, probably. So that means the next time we see the update is May 12th. Though, even though April 12th, but the data was actually March, the data was the latest one. Okay, and then the data is coming from US Bureau of Labor Statistics, and then the detail, if you know, is around here. Okay, but this time though, I want to bring in this data into Exploratory, and so that I can do a couple other things that I can't do here. So to do, here is the ID. So you need this ID information. So either as part of the title inside a bracket, or URL also has the ID right here as well. So either way, you need this ID. Okay, so I'm going to copy it. Then go back to Exploratory, and then under the data frames, I'm going to select the Cloud Apps data. Inside, there's a thread. I'm going to click on it. Because I already created the connection, so I don't have to type in API key this time. And then I'm going to just paste that city's ID. Start date, end date, if you like to limit, from particular time to particular time, then you can click on this, but this time I just want to download all data. It's not like big data. It's like 76 to 2022 anyway, and a monthly updated data. Okay, so these are the data. So the first one is the date column, the second one is city's ID, and then the value. So the first three columns are really important, and the other one is not that much. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to click on Save button, and then this is like US gas price, right? US cities average, but I'm going to just click on US gas price, and boom, I get this data. I can check the range of the data, and I can see the range of the values as well. Okay, so that's a good start. And let me just, and when I go to the table view, you see that data. And what I want to do is I want to create a chart quickly. So select the line chart, and then pretty much the same thing I was seeing on that website, right? So y-axis, I'm going to select the value, and then here's I need to be careful. So what is this? This is like a aggregated period, right? So default is year, but this data is being updated monthly. So I want to change that to months. And at this point, y-axis is sum, but this monthly already aggregated monthly aggregated data. So sum is okay, but just in case, it might happen to have like 2 or 3 points in the same month. Yeah, I don't want to combine them together. So I'm going to switch to average. And this is the chart basically like I was looking at here on the website. Pretty much the same, and nothing unique about Exploratory at this point. And from here, I want to see maybe do the couple things. One is a reference line. So I can draw the reference line on the y-axis. What kind of reference line I want to do? So let's say maybe this is obviously like gas price is changing, and then I want to see like how that's been changed based on the United States president. So the current is Biden president, and then before the Trump president, the one before the Barack Obama president. So I want to actually draw that line. So specific values. No, sorry. That is x-axis. The vertical line is I have to go to the x-axis. So here, the reference line, and then it's like a specific values. Okay, and then I think 2009, 9, 10, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14. Yeah, 2009. So this is precisely the 15 or something, but around this time is Obama president has inaugurated, right? So this one, and I can specify a couple of things, so not just one. So 2017 0101, this is like a President Trump started, and then 2021. Hope I'm correct on this one, but anyway, President Biden started. So I'm gonna just select the color and then maybe change the line to be solid or something, and then apply it. And I can see these 3 lines, and I can see how this price is changing. And then another thing I like to do is I want to start this whole thing started from maybe around here, like 2007 or 2008 or something. So to do, I can use a filter for this particular chart. If I want to limit the entire data, regardless of what chart I'm going to create, then I can add a filter from this plus button or go to the table view and then add the filter. But I want to just do it only for this chart. So I'm going to click on this filter and then the date column. And the operator right now is equal to, but what I want to do is later than or equal to. And then there are a bunch of ways to set the value. One is obviously you can say hey, I want the data to be later than or equal to 2017 0101 or something. But I want to just be more, I'm kind of lazy. So I want to do just hey, give me the data after 2008 or something, right? So in that case, I can just type in a 2008 as long as I set this year for the how to set value option. And then click on run button. And then this is what I have got. Okay. So this one, basically this is a President Obama era. This is a President Trump era. And then now this is a President Biden era. Okay, so that's good for the vertical line. And then I'm going to keep this vertical line, but also I want to draw y-axis reference line. What kind of reference line I want to draw is basically, hey, is today, or the latest month's price, is this historically it's higher than before? That I can go to here, y-axis, and then reference line. And then instead of specific value, I want to use this last. Last means when you have this time series data, last is the obvious, literally the last point of the data. And then if I click on apply button, and then here it is, I didn't change the color, but compared to the before, looks like historically, this is the highest price. I can check the entire time, not just from 2008, but even how about even before. So I can temporarily disable this filter and then see, hey, is this historically the highest price or what? And I can check that as well. Okay. But this is not inflation adjusted values. So, you can argue, hey, these are actually not the highest or something like that. But as long as that, what do you call it, nominal or just non-adjusted value, this is the highest one. Okay, so we got the US city average. From here, what I like to do is let's go back to this FRB website. Looks like there's this other geography type. And what I want to do is I click on geography type, and there's a metropolitan statistical area. This is, let's say, for example, San Francisco, the San Francisco city, but metropolitan statistical area usually means San Francisco, Oakland, Bay Area. It's kind of it's just more outer area, not just a particular city. So let's see, if I click on metropolitan statistical area, then what I can see is, for example, the first one, this is Arizona, but a Phoenix, Mesa, Scottsdale. So those are the area. And then I think this is the average gasoline price in those that area. Okay. And then when I scroll down, there are a bunch of different places from Texas and California and then so on. Okay. And then I'm curious to know that San Francisco, where I used to live, so how they're doing. And then so right now, geography type, I use that as a filter. And I click on this geographies, and then this is where I can pinpoint which state. In this case, I'm going to click on California. Then look around San Diego, Los Angeles, and then so on. And when I scroll down here's the San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward. This is the unleaded regular or unleaded mid-grade. I'm interested in this type, this time the unleaded regular. So when I click on this one, okay, and it looks like San Francisco's gas price is super going up. I mean, I kind of knew that because my friends still in San Francisco are complaining about it. But nonetheless, I'm gonna just copy this ID. So that's the ID I need. And as long as I have this, I can bring it into the Exploratory. What I wanna do is like, I wanna bring in San Francisco and then not just creating a chart only for the San Francisco. I wanna combine with this US average all cities data, so that I can compare San Francisco and the US average. Okay, so I'm gonna click on plus and let's do the same thing and then select Fred, type in the ID, click run button. Once you see the preview data, then you download. So this is like San Francisco, gas price, San Francisco. So I have 2 data sets now. And then I'm gonna go back to US gas price. Okay, then I wanna bring the San Francisco data here. And there are 2 ways to combine the multiple data sets. One is adding the columns from other data sets, data frames, or adding the rows. So typically this kind of data, because it's pretty much most of the data from Fred, always have the same set of columns: date, series ID, value, and then real-time start and end. So I want to merge the data. Merge meaning, let's say like this data has like 555 rows, and the San Francisco data have, let's say, 400 rows. It's going to just add those 400 rows, so that it's going to be like 955 rows. Okay, to do, plus button right-hand side top, and then here's a merge, add rows and union. So this is one tricky thing, because usually like you go from column header menu for most of the things. This merge menu and some other menu are available only from this plus button. Okay, and so I'm going to select the merge and then select the gas price San Francisco. That's the data frame I just imported, and I click run button. And then it's 1,086 rows now. So because of rows from San Francisco data frame being just added, I want to make sure that's really added or not. And then now here, ID, San Francisco data was 531 and the US gas price 555. Okay, so it looks okay. And what I wanted to do is I'm going to just copy this chart and duplicate. And then this is like a US and SF. Okay, and then see this one right now, the data we are looking at is still getting the data, visualizing the data from the step 1. I just merged it in the step 2. So I want to create a chart based on that merged data. So I need to move this pin button to the second step. Okay, so now this data is based on the US average and the San Francisco. So let's say I'm going to remove this reference. It's kind of like too noisy. So click X button to remove it. Still, this data is from 2008 to last month's March. Okay, and then click on the color, and then there's an ID column. You remember the ID column? ID column has the basically the data frame name. So this is like US gas price, and the other one is the San Francisco, right? So if I assign the ID column here, then the chart, this line chart being split, the one is for gas price San Francisco, one is for US gas price. So now like I can see these two lines and see like how those moving or increasing or down, decreasing. And it seems like though used to be, this is like orange is the US gas average, all cities average, and then the blue is San Francisco. Seems like it used to be like there's a difference because California is known for like higher tax. But even then, seems like after around here 2016 or 2017, the difference, the gap becoming wider and wider. And then I don't know, looks like becoming wider. And I want to understand that spread is becoming worse, meaning becoming bigger, or maybe the same, just from around this time it changed, but after once changed, it's probably about, about the same. So how can I do it? So I basically what I want to do is the difference between San Francisco and the US average, right? So that's what I want to calculate. And how can I calculate? There are a couple ways to do it. The easiest way to do it is, wouldn't that be easier? So because this is value, right? So this one can be US gas average or cities or San Francisco. But if I have the US city average column and a San Francisco column, then all I need to do is just minus, right? Column A minus column B. But it's not that way. And that's where you want to do some sort of like transformation, something like this. So one of the transformation we typically do is wide data to long data, meaning something like this. Okay, so this happens especially when you have the country name as a columns or like a month name as a columns. Many people do that in Excel. And when you bring in Exploratory, you want to gather it so that it's easier to visualize it or easy to create a chart. But the opposite case as well, when you have the long data and then you want to wide, and this is exactly what we have right now. We have kind of long data, meaning like US all city average and San Francisco, those information in the same column. And then when you look at the value, some of the values for the San Francisco, some of the values for US all cities. So what I want to do is a spread so that I'm going to have the San Francisco column and then US city average column, and then the value in the cell. So let's see like what I really mean here. Before I do, I'm going to just remove these columns because I don't really need it. So remove these columns. Okay, so like now I have like these 4 columns. These are the things I needed. What I want to do is I want to do, this ID column. I want ID column to be column so that I'm going to have a US gas price in San Francisco. And then this value, I will just use a command key or a control key for Windows. And then I'm going to spread it. Okay, so from column header menu, spread long data to wide data. If I select and then click run on it, now like I have the gas price San Francisco column, US gas price column. Okay, so before it was like this, 1,086 rows, but now I think we have we have basically the 1,086 rows is the same. Yeah, same, because this is basically what's going on here? Oh, I get it. Sorry. So this one is basically the same number of the rows. I was expecting to be half, but it didn't, because this city's ID is, because of this column, it's basically the it's creating every single row as a kind of a duplicate. So like 741, this particular column is for San Francisco, but then this value, city's ID is for San Francisco, doesn't exist for the gas price. So it ended up NA. So it ended up with a lot of NA data in one of the columns, and that's because of this column. So I am going to go back to the previous column, and then I don't need this city's ID anymore. So click remove it. And then if I, at this point, if I selected something like this and then spread, and then this is what you are going to get. So at this point, see this one, like for example, line 25, that we have the San Francisco value and the US average value, both of them, not like one of them, and then, okay. And then like the number of the rows is 555 rows. Okay. So this is kind of like how it looks in a table view, even if like you have those like a bunch of NA, but when you visualize with the chart, it actually doesn't matter because it aggregates in any way. But anyway, I like this kind of like a clean format. So now what I wanted to do is like, we want to do a calculation between these two, right? So I'm going to say like from here, create calculation. And the gas price San Francisco minus US gas price. So that's the difference. Okay. And the difference I want to do based on US gas price so that I can calculate basically % of the difference. And then this is like, I call it difference rate. Ooh, what happened here? The step introducing circular relationship. Why is that? Oh, okay. I think what happens when you have like this column name and then data frame name, sometimes you get that error. So I'm going to quickly just change the column name for something like this. So this is San Francisco, and then this is US gas, US cities. Oh, that's weird. You step into the circular relationship. That is, I'm renaming the column name. Oh, okay. That is, okay. Maybe I'm gonna just change this value first. I think this could be a bug. This kind of weird, but sometimes this happens. The column name and data frame name is exact the same. So in this case, San Francisco and this like US cities, and I change the value first, then spread it, and then it should be okay for now. So from here, I'm gonna just create the calculations. San Francisco minus US cities, and then divided by US cities. And this is a difference rate, and then just calculate it here. So this is what I wanted. Okay, so now we know column name and data frame name should be the same. So if you have something like that, this is how you can do. Okay, and then when I go to the chart, and I want to create a new chart, I'm going to duplicate the chart. So this is like a difference. And then make sure, like, don't forget this pin button to be the last step of the data. And then like y-axis, x-axis is fine. Y-axis is I want to see difference rate, and then I don't have any color, so that's the difference rate. Okay, difference rate, is this difference rate? Okay, so right now, so when you have like 1, meaning there's not much difference, okay? If there's a difference 0 and then divided by 1, the 0 means a different, there's no difference. 1 is basically, the difference is basically the, as same as the US average price. But now the difference is basically 4.71. So like it's somehow, there's always a difference, but the difference percent is becoming wider and wider in the last, I don't know, from 2021. So it seems like inflation is really making the difference worse for the San Francisco. This is a kind of a quick information. Seems like San Francisco's tax sort of things as part of the gas price is supposed to reflect the inflation as well. So maybe that's why the gas price is especially going up maybe recently. Okay, but anyway, so this is how we can get 2 metrics combined together and quickly calculate and then visualize in Exploratory. The last topic is the last question. We wanted to do is, wait, there is, sorry. Here, the last question is, I wanted to compare the prices among different regions. So California, Texas, Florida, New York. Okay, so these are the 4 biggest states in the United States. And then like, I want to see like what's the gas price is different. Just to give you the context, California and New York are known to be higher tax, and Texas and Florida is actually known to be lower tax, especially when it comes to income tax. There's no income tax in Florida and Texas. So there's a difference there. And then we all know the gas price includes not just pure gas price, but it's also the tax included, right? So, and then other, subsidized kind of prices as well. So I want to compare like how those differs to do. Basically, these are all information I have beforehand. I went to the website, and then this is San Francisco, and then basically they do the same thing. Instead of here, I selected California, but instead I could select, for example, Texas, right? And then do the same thing under the Texas. I can find a Houston, for example. And then I noted down this ID. Okay, and that is what you're seeing here. Okay, so city, New York, Miami, Houston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and the US average that we are looking at. And the right-hand side is the code for each data. And it's pretty similar ID. The first three letters, APU, this is the average price. I don't know what U, but the average price time series. The next four digit are the sort of like a location ID. So New York is New York Metropolitan, not the state, but Metropolitan is S12A. Okay, 12 is probably the state, and A, B, C, D kind of thing. And then the last five digits, 74714, this it means gasoline, unleaded, regular. Okay, so only for those four letters are different, or four numbers are different, four digits, four letters are different. Okay, so what we could do, one way to do it is basically, I'm gonna repeat this process for another like 5 times or something. So click on this and then select the thread, type in the ID, and I ended up like maybe like having a 5 or 6 data frames, and then go back to this merge step, and then select those data frames and combine them together. You know, that if you're doing this for the first time, this might be the best, easiest way to do it. But once you get used to it, and this is just gas price, in future, you might want to compare, you know, electricity price or GDP or unemployment and other things. You definitely don't want to do like a type in each code for each city or each state. You get tired of it. So the one easy thing, once you get used to it, it's kind of like a first, when you start, it's kind of complicated. But once you get used to it, the much easier way is to use this. Here's an R script. You want to write the script, and then you get all the data together in one single data frame. So I'm going to show you here the R script, and then you might get kind of intimidated if you're not familiar with it, but it's not that hard. So first thing you want to do is there's an R package, thread R. This is a R package to make it easy to access that data from the thread. We actually call this internally in the Exploratory. So basically the same thing. And then inside here, you can see getting started with thread R. And then all you need to do is basically this one, thread R. This is a function. And then here the city's ID. And then you can get that data in a data frame. So what that means. Two things though, like you have to set a couple things you have to do first. So library, and then thread R, and then it's already installed as part of the Exploratory. So you don't need to do any installation like that. And then you can use it. So like thread R, and then the ID, right? So the ID is here, for example, New York. I'm going to just type it and run. And then that's it. You get that data. So here is sometimes this works, but sometimes not. If another thing you want to make sure is this one, thread API key. Okay, so I usually make as this word. Sorry. This one, I'm gonna use, this is my key, and I just copy and paste here. So then like always this ID API key is going to be used. But it's once you already get the data in an Exploratory, you don't have to keep using it. But anyway, so this is gonna be your key, and then this API, and you get that data. So as long as you get the one data, then this is fine, but then what's the point of using R script, right? So now the next one, what you wanna do is, so, okay, there is basically if we want to call this 5 or 6 or 10 times or whatever, to do, here's a really cool function. For the detail, please look at this like a pure purr, P-U-R-R-R. That package also installed as part of the Exploratory, so you don't have to install separately or anything. One of the functions is called mapdfr. There's a brother or sister functions called mapdfc. The difference is R and C. R means rows, C means columns. So in the Exploratory, this is more like merge. This is more like a join because adding the columns. What we are interested in is this one, map DFR. Okay, so what this one is going to do is, this is how it works. So if I type like map, what is that? Underscore DFR, right? And then if this ID, oops. I can create a list here. So in order to create a list, it's always, you gotta use this C function. And then you can actually create a list of values. So this is one. Next one is Miami. And then Miami. And the next one is Houston. Next one is San Francisco. A little cumbersome here. Please bear with me. And this one is Los Angeles. And the last one is US average. Okay. So now this is a list of 6 values. You might have the 10 or 15, whatever you're interested in. And then you comma. And then you call the function name. What function we want to call? This guy, Fred.R function, right? So if you type in, and in that case, this is kind of like unique to R, but you don't have to specify this bracket. So if I close the bracket, this closing bracket is basically closing the first bracket. Okay, so this is really basically taking the 2 inputs. One is a list of the Fred ID, and the second is the what function you want to call. And when you call this map DFR function, this is really cool because it's going to call this Fred.R function passing the first value in the list. And then it repeat as long as there are values here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's going to call Fred.R function 6 times. Each time it pass each value in this list. Okay, and that means this Fred.R function will return a data frame for New York, data frame for Miami, data frame for San Francisco, and so on. And then this map DFR function is going to do is to combine them together. That's where this last part of the R matters. It merges the data. So it's going to be like, longer data for each section. It's going to be like each metropolitan cities. Okay, so that's really it. I hope so. I'm going to click on run button sometimes. Another thing is this map DFR function is super useful function is actually this package PAR. I'm sure like my pronunciation is wrong, but this package. So make sure you call that library and then PAR. So this way, before when I run this one, it makes sure the Fred.R and the PAR, this package are loaded in the memory or the computer space. And then you can first this PAR function can use. So this Fred.R function is coming from Fred.R package. Okay, so let's see like if I click on run button and I can get the data. And in this one, like I'm not sure like all the data is there, but at least I see like 12A. So the first one is there. So I'm going to click on the save button at this point. And then this is maybe, all metropolitans. Actually, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to just click on the create button. No all metropolitans, only like six cities, but 5 cities plus US average. But looks like when I see this city's ID, seems like all data came down and then like we have 3,210 rows. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, when I go to the chart, and then I can just create a chart, basically do the same thing. This is the monthly data, and then assign a value. I'm gonna make sure it's the average. And then color, this is where I'm gonna use a city's ID. Okay, is a city's ID? Okay, and then I get this one. So basically, this is supposedly 5 cities and 1 US average. But what the hell is these ID? I have no idea. And so in that case, you can actually, from the column header menu, you want to replace values, new values. So this is an important part. And then, so now 0000, this is like US average, right? And at 12A, basically I have to follow this code. So this one is New York. And this one, 35B, is Miami, Florida. This one is Texas, Houston, Texas. And then the 49A is Los Angeles, B is San Francisco. So Los Angeles, California, San Francisco, California. Okay, and then click run button, and then go back to the chart. And I'm gonna move this pin button, and then it's much better. So, okay, so that looks good. And then, but still it's kind of like hard to watch, hard to see. And I'm gonna, last thing I wanna do is I wanna change the color to be something more meaningful. So to me, somehow the Texas is red and the Los Angeles and California is a blue state. So like, I'm gonna just change that to blue. But if both of them are blue, then it's kind of like a, I don't know which one is which. So I'm gonna change it kind of like a darkness of the blue. The Miami, the orange state. So like I'm gonna change the orange, New York, I don't know, maybe like a purple just to make sure different color. Average, so I'm gonna use a dark gray or something to be very, just kind of like a standard color or base color. Okay, and then now I can see how the price is different. As you can see, like California state, city, Los Angeles, San Francisco seems like compared to other, not just US average, but compared to Miami, New York, Texas, the difference getting wider and wider, especially like after 2015 or maybe like 2020. If I use a filter again, so maybe like later than equal to, and then year of, I don't know, maybe like 2010 or something, seems like difference is becoming even wider. Okay, so like again, this gray is a US average. And then it seems like New York is pretty much a US average, and then Miami, Houston, slightly, or Texas is actually big, lower than the average. But California's cities are really high. So it's kind of interesting because, when I live in Miami, or not Miami, Florida, and then our gas prices, we complain about it. But when I think about my friends in San Francisco, I can't imagine how that could be. But anyway, so you can quickly see that data combined together in an exploratory. Let me just kind of summarize what I have done today. Basically, I introduced FRB, which is basically a data repository for economic time series data, and it's free, and then you can get all sorts of economic data. And then in Exploratory, you can directly download the FRB data. Why you want to do that? Because you can do the data wrangling or visualization and analytics. And also today I didn't do it, but you can create a dashboard and note as well. Once you do it, then you can publish to automate, all those data wrangling I did today or creating a chart. I don't want to do that every time. In the Exploratory, all you need to do is, by the way, I forgot to say, click on this re-import button. So in a month later, next month, then I can get the latest data from the FRB and then do all these data wrangling automatically. All the stuff is the same thing, regardless of out script or embedded out-of-box FRB data source, either way. So you don't have to publish it. If you want to just click on run this re-import button every month or every week, you can do that without publishing. But if you publish, then not only you can share, but also you can automate the schedule. So you don't even have to open the Exploratory. You can always up-to-date data at the server. Okay, so that's it for today. And then the next week, I'm planning to do this regular expression. This is useful technique for when you work with the text data. And the regular expression, you might have heard about it, but you're kind of not, many people are not sure what exactly it is and how beneficial it is. And so I'm gonna talk about that next Wednesday at the same time. And you can find future scheduled online seminar or past recording from our website. Go to Learn Online Seminar. And then also you can go under the Learn, you can go check the how-to tutorials and how-to video as well. Okay, So if you have any question, please feel free to reach out. My email address is kan@exploratory.io. And also we have the Twitter Exploratory Data where we announce product new features and release announcement and so on. Okay, that's it for today. Okay, with that, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Gideon, but thank you so much, all of you guys, for joining today's, and hope you're gonna have great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. All right, bye. One question: how's Florida treating you? Florida is treating me so well with this hot weather, humid. Well, I happen to be living kind of closer to the beach, so it's pretty good. Thank you for asking. All right, thank you guys. Bye.